Hey guys, Thomas from Team Sakuraso here, and as you have read on the title, it is time to fight my subscribers. Alright, I asked in my Discord, hey, give me your hottest takes, and I'm not gonna lie, I almost had a brain aneurysm within like 10-15 minutes. I mean, I knew I was gonna get some hot takes, but man, oh man. Jokes aside though, I will be going over you guys' hot takes in this video. I know at least a couple, everyone's gonna get mad by the end of this video if you make it there. But before we get into this, I want to hear your guys' hot takes in the comment section below. They may even be used for a part 2. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're not already. Guys, if you hit that like button, not only does it help more people see it, but I know I'm going to get a good amount of dislikes just from reading some of these takes. So I'm going to need your likes, all right? For the one guy who doesn't usually hit the like button, yo, this is the one video I'm going to have to ask you, buddy, all right? Hit that notification bell. Check out our sponsors, TCG Player, whatnot, and tap your cards in the description below, as well as our Discord. Thank you, my YouTube channel members. Consider being one. And we're gonna get right into this here. The intro is the only easy part of this video. The first comment comes from Neg800Nick. Desires is an amazing card, and it is never correct to play less than 3, except maybe 2 Desires, 1 Prosperity. But I still think it should be at 3 even then. I actually agree with this opinion. I actually think that people should try either 2 Desire, 1 Prosp, or 3 Desires, 1 Prosp. I haven't really tried 3 Desires, 1 Prosp, but when you do play Desires, your deck can play it. You're gonna want to see it in your opening hand. And most likely, if you're playing 3, you have a bigger chance of banishing one of the other 2 copies. If you only play 2 copies, you just be banishing whatever card fits it anyway. Desires, I'm not gonna say it's like an amazing card. It is a good card, more of a fun card, because we've all been in those situations where we just banished like a 3 of with 1 singular copy of Desires, and then drew a Desires. Yeah, and there's a reason why people play Prosp at 3, because I personally believe Prosp is not only a better card, but it just fits in a lot more decks, because you get the 1 card you want and you get to choose. But yeah, no, I agree with this opinion, actually. You should play 3 Desires if you're going to play 3 Desires. I wouldn't play 2. I know the math on it roughly, and I didn't look at a spreadsheet, but I agree, Nick. Man, wouldn't it be great if I can agree with all these opinions? It's not going to happen. Ash Blossom was by Mr. Blanks. By the way, shout out to Mr. Blanks. I've known this guy for years. Shout out to you, my man. Hey, love you and appreciate you. Ash Blossom was a huge mistake and started the downfall. Ghost Ogre should have been the only Ghost Girl ever made. I hard disagree on this. I actually think that while power creep is a huge problem in the game, if we did not have hand traps, the game would just be a lot more dice roll heavy. And a lot of people are already saying, hey, it depends on who wins the dice roll and who wins. We already see this said a lot. I personally think that hand traps helped with the game personally, but they did add something that was very frustrating. I mean, when you are playing like a deck that's maybe more balanced and you get ashed, it hurts more than when it's like, oh, well, the decks nowadays, they have to be able to play through 3 interruptions. Hand traps in general, and I know he said the Ghost Girls, but I'm just going to say hand traps in general, may have contributed to power creep negatively as well. I definitely can see that. But I don't know if hand traps were a mistake when I feel like we would be in a position like this already. But I mean, I don't know if I agree or disagree with it. My boy Ponix and Co. Try types are better as a concept when executed. I fully agree with this, actually. I think I know exactly what he might be referring to, but we got an archetype called Ragnarika, and that archetype, even though it had a lot of places to pull from, reptiles, plants have a lot, right, already off the bat, and then something else, it still didn't really do that well. And we have had decks that have gone into 3 or more typings not do as well. Do I think it's better as a concept than when executed? I just feel like Konami, I feel like we could be improving on that. I feel like it is possible that we can have tri-types as a concept and be executed well, but I understand the frustration, so I'm going to agree with this. Akame TCG, by the way, shouts to Akame. I've talked to him multiple times. Awesome guy. I love Dragon Rule format. Believe it or not, I did too. It was a very different Tier 0 format because the game was completely different. You could play your deck back in Dragon Rule format, and I do have a lot of great memories of Dragon Lore format because I used to make tiramisu and just spin back both Draco sacks, because for the first like 2-3 months of Dragon Ruler format, people thought that ending on 2 Draco sacks were good. And not only did the mirror completely disregard that, because you have to remember they played 3 big eye, so it was really, really bad. But tiramisu just spun them back. I'm gonna say I love Dragon Ruler format. Not real. I'm not gonna say I loved it, but as a tier 0 format, I think it was, when it comes, if you want to not play the tier 0 deck, it's probably one of the best tier 0 formats, if not the best tier 0 format in regards of that. Plus you also had Prophecy. Prophecy did do some stuff. So you guys could tell I'm starting off with some of the ones I agree with. You guys can already tell. Yu-Gi-Oh! Should never have been censored, ever. Not a hot take for us players, but a hot take for Konami executives. Now, this is where I think the dislikes are going to come in, because I'm going to fully agree with him. I'm sorry, but when I was in high school, and we are talking about a little over a decade ago, the main people who play this game, you did have some people in middle school, but it was mostly youngest high school and college and adults. And now I feel like I barely even see the high schoolers play this game. Like, I don't really see many young people play it. The world is more sexualized than ever before in the last decade. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like, a lot of the stuff that we considered risky, or, oh, look, this has boobies, it's so cool, is like not even worth mentioning it in a comment. I don't think it's worth censoring this game. And a lot of people who say, oh, this isn't a children's card game, a lot of them will then go and be like, well, why do we have to have Gunnar material, blah, blah, blah. And it's like the softest shit. Give us some titties. It's not going to kill anyone. It really doesn't matter. My boy Best Since Birth has 2. All right, my hot take. Tom could beat Team Sam in a fight. That definitely is a hot take. You're completely wrong. But, hey, I mean, you're just wrong. I don't know how to elaborate further. Rarity Collection ruined the market. I actually agree with this. And this is where a lot of people are going to get hate, because a lot of people love Rarity Collection. But I think the Rarity Collection really did ruin the market for this game, because Konami, number one, is relying on not only these Rarity Collections, but QCs in general now. So when they do go away and they don't know how to fix some of their sets, like the deck building sets, which Crossover Breaker did actually fix some of it, but it still had QCs. I still think it would be a good set, before that, but what if it sold out everywhere? I'm not sure about that. Same with CRs. But Rarity Collection also coming out every like 4 months. Nobody wants to put money in the game, because, oh, bro, what happens if I buy this 100, like a higher rarity, and it gets to reprinted Rarity Collection? You will lose like 80 to 90% of your value of that card. And when we're talking like triple digits, right? Like 100, 150, 180, like it's really bad. And it's every 4 or 5 months. So a lot of vendors and like stores that have like singles and this and that, they get extremely burnt. It's like throwing money down the drain. I think the way Rarity Collection was handled ruined the market. I agree with that. So, Dr. Russia here. If Pot of Prosperity is okay at 1, then Pot of Greed should be okay at 1, since it's worse prosperity. I'd rather see top 6 than get 2. Okay, so I completely disagree with this. Pot of Prosperity isn't really comparable to Pot of Greed. I would say at least Extract, because they're both drawing cards technically, could be compared, and they both have Pot in the name. But Pot of Prosperity is literally getting that one, is replacing, basically it's like playing Upstart, but that Upstart is that magic card. You get to look at the top 6, and you get to choose what card you're either missing for your combo, to play through interrupts, to break a board, etc. Right? Pot of Prosperity gets you that card. Pot of Greed, meanwhile, just draws you 2 random. Now, Pot of Greed is a +1, and if Pot of Prosperity was in the game, if Pot of Greed was in the game, not only would everybody be playing it, but it kind of ruined deck building just a little bit, because if everyone's going to try to run 40, or like 40, about 40, oh, well, Pot of Greed is going to be in there, so that's 39. It's the same thing with Max C. If Max C is legal, everyone has to run 3 copies of Crossout and 3 Max C, right? It's kind of the same thing. So, Pot of Greed, they're just 2 completely different cards. I wouldn't compare them at all. I think Pot of Prosperity is fine at 1, and I think Pot of Greed should stay banned. The only deck that I think would not play Pot of Greed is tier limit, and the only reason I'm saying that before everyone jumps down my throat is because in the OCG they actually had a free-for-all. They have free-for-all tournaments where you can use any banned card or use 1 or 2 banned cards, and when tier limit shows up, they might play like Graceful Charity or like another banned card, but they won't play Pot of Greed just because it's not good enough. It's really funny. But yeah, we've got Pyrotechnician, and if you made it this far in the hot takes video, good job. This is where it gets kind of hot. We got Pyrotechnician here. The larger Yu-Gi tubers are ruining Yu-Gi-Oh with politics on stream. So, as you guys know, I don't care about your political opinion. First of all, this is a Yu-Gi-Oh channel. You really want to take politics from people who can't read, right? That's like all over. I know that's like a joke and all that, but like seriously, to address this actually, I kind of understand this because as a creator in the space, I kind of see what other creators are doing, this and that, and a lot of Yu-Gi tubers are very different on Twitter than they are everybody else, and it could really turn people away, especially because sometimes they do want to talk about the big things happening in the world. You could say elections, like, you know, Trump, Biden. You can say, you know, Israel versus Palestine, you know, Ukraine and Russia, and all the other stuff, and and a lot of other things, and then there's like the progressive politics, right? And they get involved in that, and there are times where their Yu-Gi Twitter will like run this really bad discussion for like this huge drama thing for like a week and a half, talking about one of these topics. 3 days dies down, and then like it pops right back up, and I could really understand why that makes somebody uncomfortable, or they just don't want to get involved in it. That's also why I don't use Twitter. If you guys don't know, I have a Yu-Gi-Oh Twitter. It's in the description, but like I choose who I interact with because of that. I'm not going to shy away from Pyrotechnician's comment here, like a lot of people. I understand this because if you literally go into a card game and it doesn't matter if you agree or not with them, by the way, just so you know, I don't really care what you believe in, right? I don't need to hear about it in the comment section. I mean, like, even if you believe, like, you know, 3 out of the 3 things that happen, it's tiresome. It really, really is tiresome. This is probably not just a hot take, but this is one of my favorite hot takes, Pyrotechnician. I fully fucking agree. Fully agree. I could go more, but I'm already in trouble as is. And I think I summed it up pretty well. Goose here has another one. My Yu-Gi-Oh hot take. Best of 3 totally sucks ass. Japan does it better. I don't get why these sweaty nerds want to spend 2 days all day playing Yu-Gi-Oh in a tournament to not win a Nintendo Switch and get no bitches. My time is so much worth doing other stuff. I love competing in card games, but Yu-Gi-Oh time investment for reward is just not it at all. So the best of 3, okay, I half agree, half disagree with this because I disagree with the first half of best of 3 totally sucks. No, siding is a skill in itself. I like siding, and if we literally just play best of 1s, it would be really degenerate. Like it would just be like a lot more random. It would take a lot of skill out of the game. I don't like that at all. Now, the rest of this, which is what I agree with, is, yeah, I can't go to a YCS to win a Nintendo Switch, bro. I cannot play at these events, especially when you're getting, like, card sharked at, like, round 3 by someone who's X2. I've seen it happen. Like, more card sharking happens in, like, the lower brackets. It's like, always people are, like, X2-1 at round 5, 6. It is awful. It is an awful experience. When you get really close, it does suck. Now, I actually did like my time when I played competitive, quite a few years ago. I play at locals. I love playing at locals, but going to these events isn't worth my time at all. I fully agree. I go there for fans, for trades, to have fun with people, all that. And I'll play side events. The side events are very fun because they're also like a lot more quicker. I don't want to spend 8 hours playing Yu-Gi-Oh just to get a few, like, you know, Konami's random backstock packs and that's it, and then lose like go X3 by like round 6 or 7. It's also, this comment's hilarious too. My time's worth so much more doing other stuff. That's kind of how I feel as well. I fully agree with this. And Yu-Gi-Oh as a time investment for the reward is not it at all. Yeah, absolutely. If you're looking for like more prize support and rewards in a way, playing Yu-Gi-Oh events really isn't that. I'll give you a lot of credit for this one, Goose. Oh, but actually, my editor told me it's a Steam Deck this time. So, Goose, your whole opinion's invalid. We got a Steam Deck this time instead of Nintendo Switch and an air fryer. And if we're lucky, we might actually get some iTunes gift cards. So, Goose, you wait, bro. Konami's fixing the game, man. I'm being sarcastic for those who don't know. Hand traps should have a dual links type limit attached to them, where you can only run at most 9 or so in a deck, so every deck list can't just begin with the same 15 cards. So I actually do like this opinion, because I do remember, you know, lately for the last year and a half, 2 years, we have seen a lot more decks and a lot more formats that require like 15 plus hand traps. Like we have seen like 18 to 21 card hand trap lists. We have seen that in the game, and I could tell how seeing that is just such a turnoff. I really do feel like that's just a problem with the game. I mean, there are also decks like Snake Eyes where when they were at full power, you had to open up more than one hand trap to really stop them. If you just opened up Ash, or let's say you opened up just like an Imperm, that wasn't really enough to do anything. So you had to open up the Ash and the Imperm to really stop them from going crazy. And I hate to say it, but I feel like this, let's run a ton of hand traps, is really just Konami's lack of power and understanding in the game, because what they increase power creep, where it's like, what hand trapping your opponent once is enough to actually significantly alter their board, or alter their board in any important way. We need to run way more. But all these hand traps are really good. And guess what? Everything's a 1-card starter. Like, we can just, you know, do our Fiendsmith stuff and recycle it, right? And just keep going on and on. You know, as long as we draw 1 card and 1 card goes off, and it just feels bad to begin to play. I don't know if I agree or disagree with this, because I'm not really too sure, because I don't think the problem lies in just limiting hand traps. Like, the game still has a problem. But I do like this opinion. I don't know if I agree or disagree with it, but it's a very, very good opinion. This is a pretty good hot take. My boy Renz here got a funny one here. By a shout out to Renz. All Yugi boomers should be required to watch a Yada lock and all early broken FTKs and strategies before boldly stating, old Yu-Gi-Oh! Used to be so much simpler. Would be funny if Konami made a show dedicated to early old school FTKs, the real dark beginnings. That would be very interesting and funny, actually. And I do agree. I think the big thing with old Yu-Gi-Oh! There's 2 things I'm going to say about this. This is just, number 1, I think a lot of people, when they're talking about old Yu-Gi-Oh!, this kind of it's like the same way of saying the PS3 isn't a 10-year-old system. It's much older than that. When people are saying old Yu-Gi-Oh!, I don't think they're just talking about just Yu-Gi-Oh! I think they really might be talking about like 5Ds, Zexal at this point. Because when I think of old Yu-Gi-Oh!, that's what I think of. But I get the opinion. I mean, hearing that, just when we had a few base sets, the game was the best ever. No. Granted, I think a lot of people who enjoyed old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Didn't really play at locals or at tournaments, and a lot of FTKs that we know from back then, and a lot more degeneration, some of it wasn't discovered back then. I'm not saying it did not have all its problems, but I don't think it's as good as people say or as bad as people say. That's all I'm gonna say. Let's see. We got my boy Sakith here. Hot take: Dabble and LED was the best set since 2020, maybe since the 2010s. Okay. But didn't play back then. Okay, so I'm not going to address the 2010s. I'm just going to say 2020s. Both had hella good cards at Super, Ultra, Secret. The best cards aren't necessarily all Secret Rare. Some are 9 Ultra, Super. So I'm not going to talk about the 2010 thing, because if you didn't play back then, you know. But Dabble and LED, I'm going to say Dabble was one of the best sets since 2020. I think Dabble was a amazing set. It did have like the Bestials in almost all Super. We had Lubellion as Secret. We had good Ultras, right? Like Fenrir and Unicorn. We had good Secrets. That set had a very good rarity distribution, where I do like it where we have a lot of variety. I don't know why you think LED is comparable to Dabble really at all. Maybe it's because of Tenpai being very budget. Maybe I believe that's the reason. But LED is nowhere near Dabble's level. But LED also got phased out a lot quicker. That's kind of the problem with that set. Like, when you look back at LED right now, you kind of probably think it's like a mediocre or worse set. But I agree with the Dabble take. Let's see. Hot take: Pros is fun. Yeah, fun if you play it. Okay. Alright, restrictions on strong archetypal and generic cards should be more prevalent. For example, Engraver locks you into Fiends or Lights for the turn and things like that. I actually do like that. I definitely think that sometimes, not like soft locking, but hard locking, you into, say, a certain way of summoning or this or that, does help the game not just stay fresh, but it kind of does help with power creep. We could keep generic cards as long as they support a certain subtype of cards. For example, generic warrior support, that only helps warrior decks and only be played efficiently in warrior decks. Now, I think when he comes to when he's saying generic cards, I'm assuming generic cards that help you make some type of end board. We're not talking about generic cards like, say, Paw Prosperity or like a board breaker here. I think we can have generic cards that are just generic, but I definitely feel like having every generic card in the book, like there are cards that are a lot more strong than just being generic. I think some generic cards should be a little more closer to the middle or just strong, not extremely amazing or super duper strong. Perfect example of this is the Fire Charmer that helps fire decks a lot. It's generic for them and has a restriction of needing a fire, so not every deck can make it. I actually do agree with that. I definitely feel like that's a good example. I do feel like Konami should be putting more restrictions, especially on what, how the game is going. I think we have a good format right now, and it feels like we haven't had a good format in a while, but it does feel that a ban list could shift things back to how they were before. And I feel like a rule like this, if Konami were to implement it, where they keep generic cards, but they try to limit them in the way of blocking you, trying to be like, oh, it's generic, but, we want to make it a little more for this deck. It will hurt some of the creativity, but will also maybe help control more of the power creep. I like this opinion. I think it's good. One card combos aren't bad for the game, and then someone actually says it better than I could. I can agree to an extent. One card combos aren't bad for the game when they aren't capable of ending the game by themselves. And I do agree that we have a lot of one card combos that just end on a just absolutely ridiculous, right? We're not talking one card combos like we were back, like, a few years ago, further than that. One card combos, because they've been getting more and more powerful, has felt really, really awful. That's like kind of the thing. Like, it really depends on when you look at Yu-Gi-Oh! When you say one card combos aren't bad for the game, because I really do think that a decade ago this wouldn't be a hot take at all, or even like 5, maybe like 6, 7 years, maybe 5 years ago. But now I feel like this is a hot take, which is kind of interesting. If you guys thought that you weren't gonna get a hot take from Team Sakuratsu himself, you got another one coming. Now, this ain't gonna be too hot for the people who are already subscribed and know my channel, but for the first people that are very new to my channel, or this is your first video, which, oof, bless your heart if it is, it's gonna seem pretty bad. It's gonna burn your buns. And that is the lack of financial literacy in this game is at an all-time low. I mean, these people don't know how a market works, how money works, or just how the game works in general, or how adult hobbies work in general when it comes to monetization. And I'm gonna give you the example here. So back when I was playing, and I started around 2011, and then I left the game in 2016, came back later in 2018, I did notice the shift of players that were there. It was different from when I played. And then, during COVID, after COVID. And to give you this example is a lot of players blame, if there's an expensive card for whatever reason, on scalpers, vendors, or collectors, or whoever. If a card is money, they just blame it on one of these 3 people without really thinking. To give you an example that's very relevant, a big discussion right now is Lordy Load being at like $80, $90, $95 for your secret rares. And I'm not saying, oh, it doesn't, if you want to play Blue Eyes, you don't have it. Yeah, it sucks. Don't get me wrong. I think that sucks a lot. But a lot of people knew that this was a must of card in Blue Eyes for months now. We saw it at $2, $7, $15, going to $12, to $20, to $25, $30. This card has slowly but surely gone up, and if you wanted this card to play with Blue Eyes, you had months to prepare. When I did play, a lot of people, if they wanted to play a deck, the card would, or people would be like, oh, well, this archetype's getting support. I want to play this deck. I should get it a lot earlier. Or, oh, if I really plan on it, I should actually get it. And they do. Nowadays, the cards will explode in value, right? Like crazy, but then go down because people completely forget, oh, we're getting the support in like 4 months. So and people will not pick those cards up till literally not even when the set is close, when the set drops, like 3 days before, 3 days after. And they had all these months to plan to get this deck or get the cards when they were a lot cheaper, and then they complain about cards that they probably weren't even going to get by in the first place. Makes absolutely no sense to me. They don't understand market trends at all. At the end of the day, people are gonna be like, well, this isn't an investment. Card games aren't an investment. And look, bro, I'm telling you this right now as someone who invests in stocks. No, you shouldn't be investing in card games. But for longer than I was born, right? I'm 27. So for longer than I was born, nerdy memorabilia, especially card games, have always been collectible. Sports cards, everything, investing, all that. If you can literally watch documentaries on sports card. It's how, you know, they went up, they went down, they went in the middle. Oh, if you got this, it would have gone up, right? You don't have to like it. Nobody's telling you you have to like it, or you don't have to think it's not stupid. You can think it's stupid, but regardless of your opinion, investing in these games does exist, right? People do it, and people will do it for as long as you and I are probably alive. And they will continue to do so. If it's a bad move or not, all it depends is if you made that money or not. If you made the money, it was a good move. If you didn't make the money, it was a bad move, right? Simple as. It's the same thing with the stock market. Oh, wow, getting the stock was great because it went up. Oh, it went down. Well, now it wasn't a good idea, right? You do what you do with the results. If you want to enjoy this game and you're like, well, I don't want to invest, blah, 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 the best thing you could do, and this is what a lot of players did, too, is they followed the game and the market prices, and they traded a lot more, and they were involved in the market not to make money, but to make the game a lot more cheap and accessible. They used to trade their old deck cores to other players who wanted to play the deck, and for cards like staples, etc. People held on to a set of every staple so that they had it, right? People would actually stick to deck for a little bit, right? People would use prizing to get more cards, right? And like another thing, people used to trade, people used to prepare a lot more for upcoming sets, and the game was overall a lot cheaper back when I used to play it because of this, and this skill of understanding that the market exists. You don't have to be a vendor or some market watch guru to understand that the market exists and that you should pay attention to it. There you go. That's my rant. With that being said, guys, leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe, let me know what you think of these hot takes in the comment section below. If this gets a lot of, like 100 likes and it gets like a lot of push, I'm probably going to do a part 2. It's probably going to hurt. By the way, if you do leave your comment in the comment section below, hey, I might use it for a YouTube video, so you might like it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. I am 20. Oh my gosh, I forgot my age. Honey, how old am I? I'm 27.